Bosh. There we go. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the stream where we're going to be covering a little bit of a flashbang for a second. Fuck. There we go. Um, but yeah, hello. How are we all doing? I thought we'd have a little bit of a natter about not very much. I'll be completely honest with you. I just needed something to label the stream with. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the Rodrigo Muniz stuff a little bit, just because I think that needs to be quickly visited. Rodrigo Muniz, we've heard a little bit going on surrounding that potential deal, and I say surrounding that potential deal, it's not around the Leeds side of it, it's more broadly around the side of what is going on with other clubs that have an interest in Rodrigo Muniz, which is in this specific case Atalanta, who I believe have sold someone in this window. Is that where Lookman is leaving? I believe so. 1 second. I'll have a Google. It is. Adamola Lookman, trying to force an exit, plays as a forward for Atalanta, which is a pretty decent level. It's a very good club to be playing for. However, we then get a little bit of an issue on the Rodrigo Muniz side of they want to replace Lookman, obviously, because you want to replace your good players with other good players. So they're looking in the direction of Rodrigo Muniz. And this adds to the pile of what I like to call agent talk bollocks, which is an incredibly relentless cycle that just keeps on going in recent days, in recent weeks, in recent months. And what sort of happens is it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And eventually you get in a position where agents are just linking their own players with various sites to try and force bidding wars, to try and get prices up. In the event with the Atalanta thing, we don't know whether that's they've made a bid. We don't know whether that's they want to make a bid. It is a very technical term, thank you. We don't know that they're actually going to dive into it and they're going to go for it. All that we know is Atalanta have an interest, according to a source. Now, it's a fairly reliable source reporting that Atalanta have an interest, but in all likelihood, it's going to be a thing that's come out from Rodrigo Muniz's agent. And this is where we need to think about, I did a video the other day noting this and noting the way that one of the big issues that we are going to be facing for a very, 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 very long time is the agent bollocks, is the fact that you will have a very high level of player, and as a result, there's a bit of interest in them from all over the shop. There's no players that you're going to look at and you're going to say, well, actually, only one club wants them right now. No, that's not going to be the case. Instead, it's going to be a question of Igor Paishev's really, really good, and that's why he's wanted by various different clubs. Jakobiel, very, very good. Wanted by Newcastle. I think it was AC Milan that tried to hop in on the move, which is going to cause you some pretty big problems. And that's ultimately where we end up. And I have a bit of a feeling that the agent stuff is going to keep being an issue for a fairly long time, because it's just going to keep growing, it's not going to stop, and we're going to have to deal with it with almost every deal that we do at the moment, which ain't the funnest, but we're going to have to find our way through. In terms of other bits of news and deals and rumours and stuff like that that have happened today, the conversation surrounding Mitrovic feels, on this one, Chris, kind of. I see what you're saying. The situation around Muniz, as far as I'm aware, is that Fulham basically recognise that he is very likely to go out, and in the event that they are able to sign a replacement, he comes in, fantastic. Then he can go. If that doesn't happen, then no move for Muniz. A Muniz move is very, very dependent on them signing a backup striker, which makes sense. It's completely sensible. But that's sort of the situation that's going on around that one. How would Højlund be an option? I know this transfer might not go down well with the fans, but it has potential before he went to Man United and he ruined it. It could work in a different club. Right. I'm going to have a look at Højlund's numbers, because I don't think Højlund is what we necessarily need. So prior to playing for Scum, he had played 37 matches between Copenhagen and Sturm Graz, who are decent sides, fair enough. He then played for a single season at Atalanta, which brought him up to 69 appearances in his career. Across all of those appearances, he scored 18 times. He's now played a, quick bit of maths, 131 matches of senior football, which, you know, is okay. He's played a decent bit of football, and he's scored 32, which is not a good return for a striker. I don't think Højlund would be a good move for us. I think it would be incredibly risky, and he comes with the scum label, which isn't necessarily what you want to see. If you make a signing and it goes wrong, that's one thing. If you make a signing and it goes wrong and they play for scum, that's another. And that's a very, very big thing to go wrong. And I feel like if we were to look at signing Højlund, we would need to be 100% certain that it was going to go right. Because if you go down having spent £30 million on Rasmus Højlund, only for him to score twice all season, and effectively be a Danish Matteo Joseph, it's not a good spot to be in, I don't think. It'd be a very different spot to Strachan. Mitrovic on €15 million a season, it wouldn't be a good move. I agree with what Mr. Joe Wainman said on this one, in that his wage demands will be significantly lower here than they were in the Saudi League. A, because it's the Saudi League, you go there for money, but B, because you would do so understanding that Premier League clubs are not going to be paying that. They are not backed by royalty. That's not the situation that we're realistically in. But I wouldn't really want Mitrovic, and it's not from the angle of, is he a good or bad player? Because I'm not going to deny Aleksandar Mitrovic is quite good at football. It's not a controversial opinion to have. Like, let's have a look at Mitrovic's stats. Mitrovic, footballer at Al Hilal in the league. He's played 51 matches and he's scored 47 goals. That's pretty decent. However, I have worked some events that are Saudi Pro League matches, and that is not a good quality of football in the slightest. A lot of people will look at it and go, look at all the players they signed to the league. That's nice. But if I remember the rule rightly, clubs are only allowed a maximum of 5 non-Saudi players, which puts them in the situation of having to play quite a lot of Saudi footballers, and they are not of the standard yet to provide an actual challenge to the likes of Mitrovic. So yeah, he's done really, really well in Sunday League. And I recognise that he is still going to be a good player, but he's going to be expensive, and from previous experience and what I've read about the way that he generally behaves at his clubs, he's a bit of a dickhead, as far as I'm aware. So I like, on this, what's his stats for the Premier League? Fairly decent, to be honest. At Fulham, he scored 97 in 173 matches. Fair enough, decent numbers. However, I like the character that we've got in the squad at the moment. And I think adding Mitrovic to that when he's got some pretty damn big questions around his character isn't going to be the best of moves. And there's other options. That's my opinion, at least. Where are we? ICK and Wacko's mentioned Van Aert this evening with a wink emoji. If Van Aert gets done, I'm going to be so happy. Because I called that at the start of the window. And if that can keep on happening, ho ho ho, I'll be a jolly boy. We seem to be chasing side before self types Mitro, isn't that? Yeah, that's the general sort of vibe that I've gone with. Also, genuinely hilarious, right? This is a little bit of a side note, but it's a very funny side note. They were mainly champion. Oh, they were quite a lot championship stats. Yeah. Okay. He doesn't really rip up the Premier League, does he? But yeah, the quite funny thing. Paixão was interviewed after joining Marseille, and he was asked a little bit like, okay, why did you join Marseille? What was it about the club that sort of drew you in? What was it that you fancied about playing at Marseille? And funniest thing that I've ever read is Paixão going, I really like the character of the club, and the way it's a really anti-racist club. Now, if you know much about the current political climate of France, anti-racism isn't really the biggest thing, and Marseille is rather divided on that one. And in addition to that, the character of the dressing room? You're going to Marseille for the character of the dressing room. Have you heard of Mason Greenwood? Or is that one new to you? It's a bit of a wild one to go down that specific like alleyway to go. Actually, yeah, I really really like the general sort of vibes that are going on at that club. I wouldn't. I mean, you do you, but I wouldn't. The money you would have spent on Paixão Muniz gets Matoma. I don't think so. I don't particularly think that getting a striker and a winger is balanced out by getting a winger. I don't think that'd quite do it. I heard Højlund could be the one to watch. If it's Højlund, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. I'm always in a position of anyone that is pulling on a Leeds shirt and going into a match and giving their all. Sure, back them 100% because you kind of have to. But I don't know if he's of the level that we necessarily need. And that's not the bestest. That spooks me. We won't get Muniz. We don't know that yet. People were saying we wouldn't get Stack, and then we ended up getting Stack. And people have said the same about all kinds of players that we could potentially have gotten, and then we did in fact get, because there's all kinds of players that you can end up with. Transfer windows are weird. Like at the time, no one would have said, yeah, we're going to get Rafinha, it'll be on the last day and it'll come completely out of nowhere. But there we go. It happened. Right, I'm going to have a little bit of a quick skim through the news. This is going to be a fairly short stream, by the way, because I missed a few messages, which means that I've got some bits and bobs to do. But we'll get there. Yeah, also, on the Gesson thing, someone was talking about Evan Gesson in the chat before I came on stream. And I just wanted to clear that one up a little bit. Right. The Gesson thing, I have seen very, very minimal links between us and him. Nothing proper coming out of, like, the local journos, which is how you know that something has come out of our club rather than out of an agent. A lot of these links are four candles in the nicest way possible. Stop making shit up. You can't say they're getting their big book of excuses ready when they've not said anything. Because things are happening. Stop looking for bad things when we're in a position where we've had a genuinely very, 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 very strong window. And it's not done. There's another month. Like, let's not just set our brains on fire and panic because we've got this big ol' fizzing agenda against the 49ers or whatever's going on. Let's not. Come on. But yeah, on the Ukrainian striker, if it's Vladislav Vanat that we're talking about, I'm very interested. Highly mobile, very versatile, gets himself around the pitch, gets the job done, basically. And whilst he's still young, I think that's a positive. And I think that's a positive because there's space to develop. And admittedly, yeah, younger players aren't always the best to have on board, but I think developing him at Leeds and growing him as a player is a genuinely positive approach for us to have. And it'll point us in the right direction, I think. James Justin Dale's gone quiet. I did notice that, and I was like, that's a little bit weird. Why is everything going a little bit stum out of nowhere? But I think that is going to turn into something. If it does, I've got no problem with that. If we do get the job done on James Justin, wonderful. And it might take a little bit of time, and it's fine. But, like, people are mad when we've not got every single bit of business done with a month left of the window, and it's like, yeah, sure, the season's around the corner. But the main issue that stops the vast majority of teams from staying in the Premier League is the back line. And the back line was the thing that we sorted out first. And sorting out the back line means we can then move forwards up the pitch, which we have been doing. And you can't get everything done at once. You can't just, like, click your fingers. Everyone's through the door before pre-season even begins. First day of the window, we've done all the signings. That's not how that works. Signings happen late on. That's why deadline day is a thing. Like, that's why in 4 weeks' time, will be doing a deadline day stream. Because shit happens at the end of a window. Always does. Always will do. I'm taking the time off 7-a-side to do a deadline day stream. In the same way that I'm missing the 7-a-side match against one of my closest friends. It'll be him being goalkeeper versus me being goalkeeper, but I'm going to miss it because we're playing Everton. And some things are a little bit more important, you know? Exciting. Not a 24-hour stream. It'll be a long stream. It won't be 24 hours. Don't like the 49ers. Money's the only motivation, just like most owners, unfortunately. Like all owners, let's be honest. They're trying to provide value on, like, to the club and increase the value of the club, and therefore later sell the club. But it makes sense. That's because it's how it works. Also, good evening, Lucy. I hadn't spotted you that you were in the chat. Sorry, I'm just sort of skimming things at the moment. Joe, if Bogle, Goodmanson misses Everton, we literally have no cover. Yeah, that is a bit of a worry. But I think we'll sort out the backup wing-back before Everton. I'm fairly sure on that. I think we'll have Bogle for it, though. I was a little bit worried in the ground when Goodmanson got crunched by, in part, Ilham Melier. And that spooked me a bit, because I was sort of looking at that and I was like, right, I've now got Bogle. Schmidt doesn't want to be here, and he's a bit shit. Byram isn't ideally starting in the Premier League. If both of our starting fullbacks are done, what do we do? But we'll be right. We'll be fine. I do think Byram's better cover than Schmidt, because Schmidt concerned me quite vastly against Villarreal. 49ers transfer business been amazing the last 3 years, yet people are so negative. That's the weird thing, right? And it's a point I've made a few times, where a hell of a lot of people looked at last season and were like, we've got the best squad. If we don't get promoted, then it's a nightmare. True. It would have been a nightmare, but we went up. You know who built the squad? It was the 49ers. The 49ers built the squad because the squad got a little bit disintegrated after we got relegated. Then everyone left again when we didn't go up. So the squad dissolved a little bit again, so they rebuilt it again. And that squad got 100 points. But the 49ers are bad owners who are in it for the money, whilst also building a stadium. Because that's cheap. That's very affordable. Hello, by the way, Darren. I'm assuming Darren. If it's Dillo, hello, Dillo. But like they're quite good, actually, as owners. Have you heard Harrison's now injured? I have, and it was a bit of a weird one because everyone in the ground that I talked to was sort of like, I understand that they don't want Harrison to get booed in a friendly, but they do see what the first competitive match of the season is, right? They see that one is worse. Because against Everton, he gets booed by the entire stadium. Not just the majority of the stadium, the whole thing. And that is going to be funny. Unless he can leave first. Spence, could you say was a flop or just his attitude? I think Spence, as a signing, isn't a bad idea because, as we've seen, that his level is not bad. He's playing pretty damn well at Spurs. As Arthur says. It's just, at Leeds, he seemed to come into it with, like, the feeling of entitlement. Like, no, I have to be playing because I'm on loan from a top 6 side, so obviously, I'm above all of this. I must be significantly better. Therefore, why am I not playing? But the reality of the situation is he wasn't good enough. And was kept out of the club by, at the time, a 17-year-old who wasn't even a right back. So, for me, that is all on Spence. If he is a player of the level that he's at now, and he knows he is and he can remain that player, then why couldn't you get in past a teenager? And that was an attitude issue. Harrison's injury, his badge fell off his shirt. No, he went into his cupboard and he saw a shirt, right? But he got confused. He saw the shirt and he was like, hang on a minute. I don't understand. It's weird. Hold on. Oh, for fuck's sake. It doesn't work. Never mind. I was going to do a joke with the Leeds blue away kit that looked a bit like an Everton shirt and be like, look at that. That's bad. That's an Everton kit and it's a Leeds kit. And it would have confused him, but whatever. Anyway. Schmidt might get a run out on Saturday. Looks rusty, not played 90 for ages. So it's been a long and stressful day. He might. I think it'll be a case of, do we have the fans? Not fans. Do we have the Bogle? That's the pissing name. Yeah, do we have Jayden Bogle? If we do have Jayden Bogle, I can be pretty damn happy and comfortable and think that we're going to be heading in the right direction. Joe, I agree. Fantastic players. My point is, if Pirou or Metcha get injured, that's why I'm pissed off we have no striker. Yeah, but it can take time. Like, let's have a little bit of a breathe. Come on, Dean. You know better than that. There's a pretty fucking good reason that I'm bashing him. And to defend that is a little bit disgusting. Because a lot of people will have heard the audio. And anyone that has goes, oh, he did the bad thing. So I wouldn't go back in him. But on the striker thing, I fully think the plan was to go into the season with, at the moment, 3 strikers. Metcha, Pirou, Joseph. However, Joseph doesn't want to be here now. And that kind of presumably took the club a little bit by, whoa, okay. Sure. Which puts us down to the 2. Because at the end of the day, in terms of contracted strikers, we're currently at 4. Bamford, not gone yet. Joseph, not gone yet. What about Sterling? No. I think Sterling's on his way to Fulham? But I wouldn't hugely fancy Sterling anyway. Because last season he did shit all. And he would be a very expensive player in terms of wages. We need a striker that's ready to jump into the team to be ready. Yeah, I think we need someone that's got a good bit of quality to them. And if we get that, then we're heading in the right direction. But I wouldn't mind a bit of quality that can also develop into the Premier League and be a player for the future, rather than just a player for the now. Joseph is a spoiled brat. He's a little bit not good. Yeah, it's in the position of like, okay, so you could have been playing a bit of Premier League football this season, or you could have at the very least been hovering around the first team, getting a few minutes, and then maybe you find a loan move. Or you could have, said, I'd quite like a transfer, but I'll keep on training. But no, you chose to burn all of the bridges, which is a brave move. It's not a clever one, but it's brave. James back for the AC Milan game. That's good to see. There's a little bit of me, that little, when sometimes you get a little brain worm that's like, what if Leeds did something spectacularly different and weird and fun? What if, against AC Milan, Dan James number 9? Hear me out. We've seen Aronson shift out wide and it works. Dan James, and all you need to do, twat it long. Dan James runs onto it, picks up the ball. Easy. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying it's an idea. Hope things going on behind closed doors. There will be. They always will be. Like, whenever people are like, Leeds aren't doing anything right now. I saw someone put a comment on, I think it was Joe's stream earlier, saying something along the lines of, Adam Underwood is being paid to sit on his arse and not do anything. And it's like, right, okay, sorry. Just because he's not personally signing in timesheets and handing them to you to say, today I spoke to Mönchengladbach, I spoke to Valencia, had a little bit of a chat with Dynamo Kiev, and I flew over to pick me a place. I flew down to London to talk to Fulham. Just because you're not getting that, it doesn't mean that he's not doing anything. Like, he's a busy boy right now. Yeah, that's the point. We have got 3 strikers. We've got Harry Gray. You do remember Bielsa trying that, right? I do, but that was more... Yeah. I know it's not a good idea, but it's an idea. I think Dan James has evolved since then as well, to be fair. He's a better striker of the ball. He's better technically as well. So all I'm saying, I know it's a bad idea, but it could be fun. It could be an adventure. It could be an idea for when we're a goal up going into the last 10 with 10 men in behind the ball. I'd agree, but also I really value the defensive work Dan James does a lot of the time. Where he's like, no, okay, I can do this. I will drop in and make sure that we're nice and secure and safe and all that kind of stuff. That's something that I also value Dan James doing. So I like the idea, but I don't know. I'd rather play Pascal up top. Boo. Unacceptable. Dan James is a creative boy. What's Perry's injury? It was something ligamenty. Can't remember what. Still can't cross though. 1 second. Because you, Tony, have awoken the stats bitch. It's me when I get numbers. Let's pull up his 24-25 stats, shall we? Dan James, throughout the course of last season, got himself 9 assists, which is pretty damn nice. Do I have the specifics on how those goals were created, or do that data not exist? Is it in his overview? It will be. 15 goal-creating actions last season, which is not half bad. Including 12 that are passes from open play. So his passing, clearly not that bad. Is there anything specifically on cross accuracy, though? I don't see it. Although 169 crosses last season is not bad. Like, those are some numbers. That ain't anything to be sniffed at. I think Dan James is pretty damn good at crossing the ball. Aggressive move for Patrick Schick. That'll be too aggressive. What have you done? Yeah, you brought out the stats, bitch. That's just how it works. Different player under Farker. Came in under Marseille at a time where everyone got injured. No one had no one else to put up to. Better finisher, but not great, but better. Yeah. I think he's different, he's improved, he's heading in the right direction. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to end the stream relatively shortly because I've got some bits and bobs to do. Hold on, I must reply to the bit and the bob. About average for a winger. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind someone that's about average when it comes to crossing. Who's Patrick Schick? He is a striker at Leverkusen, I want to say. But he's not the kind of striker that we'd be able to do because he is, you know, quite good. Away bits and bobs. Yes, you are bits and bobs, friends that are seemingly watching my stream. Are you in Discord watching my stream? Hold on. No, I don't think you are. Or at least you're not screen sharing it. That's a shame. Anyway, I'm going to go because otherwise I'm going to keep getting complained at. I'm going to go into a Discord call and inevitably be told off for doing a stream for longer than I said I would do a stream. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please pop a like on the stream. It's always massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and you could even be a channel member if you like. It's $2.99 a month, and you get a bunch of videos early and stuff, which is just nice, and it means that stay. No, Sly, I can't just stay. I can't just stay because you've said stay. But yeah. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Doodaloo.